Welcome to the Media Mavens Show, a fantastic fusion of health, wealth, and wisdom that will ignite your passion for life. I'm Aldwyn, also known as the Media Queen from Australia.
And I'm Kerstin Linnartz from Germany. We are here to take you on a journey of inspiration to help you grow in life and business and unlock your true potential.
With a combined 70 years of media experience, we share stories, insights, and expert advice that will empower you in all areas of your life.
The Media Mavens Show is not just another show. It's a candid look for answers to the big questions in life and a movement towards a better, brighter future.
This show transcends borders. We're connecting people and cultures globally.
So whether you're watching us online or listening to our podcast, buckle up to be inspired, informed, and ready to conquer the world. Here we go again. We are live. It's another Tuesday, which means it's another time for another episode of the Media Mavens Show. And today we're welcoming a very special guest again. Glad to have you with us. Welcome, Alfred Zerfas.
Hi,
yes. Well, let me start by singing a song. Whenever I feel afraid, that's my name, Fred. Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune, and no one will suspect I'm afraid. While shivering in my shoes, I strike a careless pose and whistle a happy tune, and no one ever knows I'm afraid, etc., etc.
Oh, that's beautiful. We've never been greeted with a song to begin the show with. And it's beautiful. You're mentioning the happy tunes, and this is what comes across. And that's the topic of our today's show. The older you are, the longer you live. And it seems like the older you are, the more careless and the happier you live. And this is something that I heard, before we started the show. There's so many positive things that come with age, no? And this is what we're going to address today. So let's get into the show.
Absolutely. Now, Fred is 88 years of age. So just a quick background on Fred for those who don't know him. We actually met several years ago now, about 10 years ago, we met in Thailand, and I did a webinar on media, and Fred joined my Mass Media Mastery program, and we've stayed friends ever since. And I'm always amazed by Fred. He's always got such a happy disposition. He's always someone taking on life with gusto. He walks around with such great energy. He drives with no problems. He's a very, very fit, healthy man for 88 years of age. Now, he was actually a doctor for 60 years. He traveled all over the world working in public health for UNICEF, for Save the Children, for universities and governments in emergencies, nutrition, national surveys, maternal and child health. And since returning to Australia, he's worked on social and health videos for agencies, and more recently started Sing with Fred for elders like him to stay happy and sane through song to allay dementia, to reduce dementia. And today we're going to chat all about that. So, Fred, I'm really curious, what was it that got you into medicine in the first place? Was it something that your parents said that you should do, or was it something you really wanted to do?
Well, my mother wanted me to find the cure for cancer, but I figured maybe if I became a doctor, that would help. But I found it interesting, and it allowed me to go overseas. Because if you're a doctor, you can work anywhere. And that's what I wanted to do.
Wonderful. Well, you've certainly done some amazing things overseas. So what are some of the highlights and some of the places that you went to?
Well, I went to India first because I was inspired by Gandhi, actually. And it was a push-pull factor. Get away from my mum. And I fell in love with a lady who wanted to go to India and live there. So we went to India, and I've got Indian grandchildren now because my son married an Indian lady. He was one at the time when we went over, and I've remarried since then to a lady in the US, and she was my nurse in Biafra in Nigeria. We worked together on a program, and we have 2 kids in the States. So what I wanted to do was to connect overseas, and I had a passion for rare diseases, exotic diseases. So I worked in leprosy for 3 years. We did surgery and so forth. And I'm working on a video about how leprosy contributed to mankind, because a lot of the surgery for leprosy, which I did some, but only feet, not hands, is used by traumatic surgery now. So they've learnt a lot through the surgery itself. So, you know, everything has a benefit.
Amazing. Gosh, leprosy was really big once upon a time, wasn't it? How did you deal with that, and how did you stay safe amongst all of that?
I sang a song, and I sang it in an Oxford pub a few years back, and also, leprosy, it's crawling over me. There goes my eyeball right into your highball. I sang that in a song. I had this lovely Irish lady who did a carnival of songs in this pub, and her twin sister and her performed in Glastonbury, and she helped me in the book and so forth. So it's a sort of semi-religious disease. That's why I got out of it. And when I went to London after India, I wanted to do a study, and then I found an ad for Save the Children for Nigeria. They're having a war in the 60s. So I'd worked in the tropical disease hospital in London as well, and places. So I went there and worked in Nigeria, East Nigeria, for 3 years. And we had these teams that were responsible for maybe 100,000 people just on the edge of Biafra, the breakaway part of Nigeria at the time. In fact, funny thing was, I was in Kuala Lumpur for a conference in the media, and I met some ladies from Biafra, actually, and they thought I was the Ant's Pants. Anyway, when I was there, we were responsible for the feeding programs, and we had to screen kids. And the way we screened was to look at the arms and to see how skinny the arms were, because we had to do it very quickly in supplementary feeding. And so people used that as an assessment of nutrition. So I teamed up with, when I went to Harvard, half my time there was working on a tape, and there was a doctor from Baghdad I helped him do a report on that. And then after that, I went to UCLA, and my mentor there was interested in nutrition. All I'm saying is that you have to collaborate with people in order to further your ideas. You can't do it on your own. And it's so important. So that's the lesson. That's the lesson to learn. The funny thing is, if you copy one person, it's plagiarism. But if you copy a lot, it's innovation. So, so I think that's the message. If you've got an idea, share it with people, because turn your competitors into collaborators. And Kaylee Chu, a lady in Melbourne, whom I give thanks to, she had a book called Having 100 Lunches with Strangers. And the point is that you access people in a friendly way and connect with them in the process, not the result, because the process is the most important thing. The result may or may not come, but the way you do it is the most important thing. So you get them involved from the very beginning. And if you've got a shoe shop and sell shoes, you want to go to a street where there's other shoe shops, because people know where to go. And it's the same with ideas. It's the same with business and so forth, I think.
Absolutely. And I see we've got a few people have come on here. We've got Shell Bird, hello on Facebook. She says, hey all. We've got Shannon Young here. Awesome, Aldwyn. Hello, Shannon. And for all those joining us, I can see Robert's on Instagram. We've got Carol Arsiat. We've got Pharmacist Mohammed Salah has joined us. We've got Eco Art Therapies have joined on Instagram. We've got people on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, X. Please let us know, where are you joining us from today? I'm coming from Cebu today, actually. Cebu, we've got Rob Zeligic. Hello, welcome. And where are you joining us from? And do you have any questions for Fred? He has a world of experience, 88 years on the planet. And as you can see, he's very mentally active. There's no signs of dementia with you, Alfred. That's for damn sure, right? Hello, Raphael, Paul. Let us know, where are you joining us from today, and any questions for Fred. Now, Fred, I'm curious about, you know, the changing ways that medicine has been done over the years. Have you got any comments around that, around the push for, you know, certain pharmaceuticals, say, and the reliance on pharmaceuticals by a lot of people versus, say, more natural health methods? Are you finding more people now are going more to sort of natural health?
I hope in doctors' education, they're taught how to communicate with their patients. I mean, doctors are amazing people. They do amazing things, but they don't have enough time, unfortunately. They're pushed for time. And the shortcut for some of them, a few of them, admittedly, is to give drugs. And in fact, people are educated in a way, some physical thing from a doctor, it's not going to do them any good. And that's why you have placebos and so forth. So I think medical education should be reviewed, and that's bringing the art into science. I'm a great believer of bringing the art more into science. And that's been done at the National Academy of Science. They had a whole symposium that I went to. And I think it's important to bring music, and music is a very strong part of art. But I see art as, my sister said, art is what the artist says it is. But I see art as a recognition of beauty and inner being. It's a way of seeing. And I made a film called The Tree. That was one of the that's on my YouTube channel. And I made the film within the tree. And the tree looked outside. And I looked at the tree as a human being. And I remarked that their limbs are weathered with age. And I look outside and I see these attack machines, which are cars, coming towards me, and I'm scared, and I look to this and all this sort of stuff. So I think bringing the softer side, and I think bringing more feminism into the picture. I have my good friend wrote a book, Sex and War, and he made the point that 98% of all wars are started and continued by males. So there's some ideas about this, but I think bringing art into science is turning STEM into steam, I call it.
And it's beautiful that you bring in this different cultural approaches. You say bringing the art into the science, the more feminine approach. I've been living in India for 7 years, and they do something very amazing, which you for sure have come across, the laughter clubs. You know, it's all about raising the frequency, like what you're doing with Sing with Fred, bringing in the music. And in India, they have these laughing clubs. Have you seen them? It's actually an organization. It's amazing. They have over 3,000 laughing clubs in India up to today.
They want to spread it. Tell me about that more.
It's amazing.
We can learn from other societies. The problem we've had is that we've become lazy. We're being entertained, and we're not singing passionate to each other. We're not singing songs of gratitude to each other. We're not connecting. We're connecting, but we're not connected. If you go on the street, you see all these people with their eyes glued to their phone, but are they really connected? And a friend of mine in San Francisco made a film about this called Connected, and she made that point. So that's amazing. We can learn a lot from our indigenous societies in the importance of song and culture, and we're just lazy. We're just being entertained, and the problem is that in the marketing system, they're using entertainment to force us to buy things that we don't really need, things that we want, but the entertainment pushes us to say, oh, yeah, that'd be nice to have, although we don't really need it. And when we did the dietary guidelines with my colleague who runs the dietary guidelines for Australia, and we did a paper together, and we were the only country that mentioned in dietary guidelines that 30% of all food goes to waste. And I think that's an important part of dietary guidelines. And we eat too much And I did a pitch about the choice of right foods in supermarkets. And I interviewed people who went there. And what they're doing is they're looking at price, but they're not looking at quality. And they save money by buying double the amount that they would have wanted originally. So things go to waste. So all these things are important in terms of marketing. And that's why we have to communicate better with each other and find ways in which we can become healthier by our own means. And the idea about health services means that health is being done by someone else for us. But most of health, at least in public health, is what we can do for ourselves: lifestyle, diet, exercise, feeling happy, communicating with people, and music and song.
Yeah. The self-healing power is a very strong one. Would you say all the things that you've been mentioning is a typical thing in the Western society, with your international background, having spent so much time in Africa, in India, where they clearly in those traditions respect the elders much more as well? Like the indigenous tribes, they always listen to the elders. They have the guide through the elders. Would you say this is a typical symptom of the Western society?
Well, there's something called ageism, which is discrimination against aged people. And surveys have shown that younger people think that people who are aged, who are related to them, are only good for their resources. At least 50% do. And they're a huge resource to mankind, but that hasn't been recognized. We think of an aged person as someone who's demented and paralyzed and all sorts of things. But a third do get demented at various stages, but there's still a lot who don't. And I was at a meeting with Julie, my friend Julie, who actually gave a talk, and I was sitting in the university club, graduate school, and there were three ladies next to me who were over 90 years of age. And they said, I asked them how they keep young, and they said, we just keep getting busy. We keep ourselves busy all the time. And I keep myself young by having fun all the time, enjoying myself and enjoying life. And when you do the 7 whys, if you know what the 7 whys are, you ask yourself why this and keep going on to the end. And my end bit is life is the why is to have fun at no one else's expense but my own, So I think we like to enjoy ourselves, and that's why singing. And in fact, what I love doing was I like singing, and I want to give a little point about getting your own core values. And if you Google core values, I come across via character. It'll give you the 24 top core values. And I did that. And my top 3 were humor, curiosity, and innovation, which reminded me maybe I could have been a stand-up comedian, but I don't have the stamina for that, unfortunately. But I did the core values, of course, also with my son, and he had part of that as well. So I would recommend everyone doing their core values. And 30 years ago, I attended a 3-day workshop in DC because I lived in the States for 30 years. I was at UCLA for 10 years lecturing. I got my doctorate in epidemiology. I was a hippie demonologist there. And then I went to the East Coast and worked there. And they asked 2 things that I've kept all my records of. The first thing is, document all the times of your life you felt very good about yourself. And I recommend this for people listening. And just spend a bit of time with your friends or whatever and just writing down and discussing. And it wasn't just in business, or it wasn't just in earning more money. It's all sorts of things. Like for me, one example was I was supposed to take a movie at the school. It was Macbeth, actually. I was a boarder there. And we had the bushes running. Everyone was hidden by bushes running. And I was supposed to do this and that. And it made me realize, and then you look at all of them and see what the commonality was. And my two major commonalities being the first to do something and something to do with design, because my mother designed hats and she did the costumes for the Strauss operettas actually in Vienna. I've got a few stories about her. We don't have time for that. If there's time, I'll give you one sweet story. Anyway, she did the costumes there, so that's where I got the design from. And she came when she came to Australia in 27. She had to earn as much money as possible, so she married my father, who was earning a good wage. They didn't work out, unfortunately, but she needed 1,000 guineas for everyone in Poland, the family in Poland, to come out before Hitler got them. And you had to earn as much money as you had to reserve that money for the government, otherwise you wouldn't be accepted. If you're from England, you didn't have that problem, but if you're from Europe, you had that problem. So she earned as much as she could at the time, and she went to the bank when she started the business, the hat business. She had 18 shops eventually around Melbourne and in the suburbs. And I've got a record of all the hats and the people who worked in them. They're all people from the family, actually, so we could see the hats. Anyway, she went to the bank and put in those days they had guineas. So she put a 1 guinea note in front of the banker as a down payment on the factory. And the guy said, he looked at her and he thought she was bats. And then in her strong voice, she had a voice you could hear 20 meters away. She said, it may not be much, but I guarantee on the spot, you'll get your money on the spot every week. And she did that. So she was that type of person. I've got a video about her, conversations with my mother. And I'm talking to my mother now after she died. And she's within me, because I feel all your loved ones are always within you, even when they die. So I have this habit of talking with my best friend, and I have a chat, and I bring the past into the present and the future into the present, because the only time that counts is now. All right. And if you want to do something, do it now. Okay. And don't sort of get blocked in the past or the future. The vision is important for the future. You need a vision and a goal and ways to get to the goal. So long as you go a little bit at a time, you're okay. So that's the point. So I get the habit of looking at myself from outside. So I look at myself as another entity, and that's a coaching method. And I have this lovely mentor in Sydney, who I call her my tour mentor, called Alison, and we coach each other. So I get into those habits of doing things, and it sort of refreshes me, because I feel energized. I feel energized by the person and the contact and the love and the affection, and it's all there deep inside me. And so I'm trying to communicate. And this is what you do with music and song. And in Sing with Fred, it's so important that they connect with their loved ones. It's not just singing on yourself. It's the connection that counts. And it's the connection that gets the music, and the song is the key to getting into memory, because you don't lose memory. It's always there, but you don't know how to find it. And that's what music and song does, because it incorporates the whole brain. And there's lots of studies to show the effect of music and song. And the music therapists and the people involved in aged care, they're doing an amazing job. And I just hope to put my little bit in, to see if that can help, because that's important.
Yeah, Sing with Fred, just to let our viewers and listeners know, that's something that you've started for yourself, but also to share with elders. And I think this is not only for elders, but also for relatives, when there's children, grandchildren with elder relatives who might have dementia, or who might be on the verge of dementia. I had a friend of mine, she's a well-known German actress, and her grandmother, she got dementia, and her name was Ilse. It's a very German name. And she founded an organization called Ilse's Weite Welt, which means Ilse's wide world. And what they offer with their organization, they have a news program which is friendly for elders. So it's much slower speech, much slower images. They produce products that are also triggering the brain and the senses, which you're saying, like in music,
Right.
they have little cushions with different haptics, right? And it's beautiful to give some help for relatives who don't know how to deal with elders who have dementia,
Well,
right?
that's
They're
right.
often helpless.
That's right.
What's your recommendation here?
No. The general idea is just the sequence of it, just to give you the general idea. The general idea is that music connects with memory. So what you do is find the music or the song that you feel you love. It's often when you're between the ages of 15 to 25, it may be related to an event, your first love, your graduation, something exciting that happened to you that was connected with music and so forth, and whatever. But once you've got that connection, then you ask yourself why. And then you probe into the reason why. And that's where my epidemiology fits in, because epidemiology has only got 5 or 6 key issues: person, time, place, process, result, and emotion. And that why can be any one or more of these. And when you've got the why, you can put this in a database, and then you can have a playlist of songs in the database, which you can then do an app which shares with your loved ones. So the elders' why and connecting with memory gets shared with their loved ones and goes into a musical ebook. And that musical ebook, every chapter of that musical ebook is connected depending on whether it was the person, time, place. So you've got the chapters in the musical ebook that can be shared with people. So if you've got a chapter about a particular person and someone who knows that person, they can contribute to that chapter in song. Okay. So there you've got this musical ebook that you can use as a legacy. And so that's what you leave. And the more people in your musical ebook, it doesn't have to be your relatives. It could be loved ones. It could be anyone you come across. The more they're going to use it. So my saying is, act local, think global. There's no point thinking global acting global to start off with. If it works in one place, it can work in another. And I'll give you an example of that in Bangladesh, in training traditional birth attendants, which I'm involved with this major organization. And the idea is to train to do a video, use a video on a smartphone for one of the traditional birth attendants who's literate and well known, to train the other traditional birth attendants and have a little flip book to go with it. And then also to have the community involved in what they're doing, so that one person in Bangladesh, they've reduced mortality by a huge amount because they've made oral rehydration powder available in every shop in a village. And it's very cheap, and people start using it, and their deaths from diarrhea have gone down like mad. And they've done so much better. And there's a video called Miracle in Bangladesh that talks about this. And so the idea is that if you can, the person in the shop, and this is what we've got to develop in Bangladesh, they can take the blood pressure, they can check the urine. And we found that in when I worked in cholera, I was in the camps in West Bengal in 71. Very difficult to put IVs in kids' scalps when they're dehydrated. So we trained local people to put the IVs in, and they became expert in it because that was the only thing they did. And doctors, doctors are very good and that, but they're not that necessarily good about putting, and their time is valuable. They can't waste 5 or 10 minutes trying to get an IV in. So the idea is to get other people responsible in the community or in the situation you're in, okay? And it's also a question of having lateral vision. I'll give you an example of lateral vision. In Iraq, when I worked, I was the nutrition rep for UNICEF to the government in Iraq for 3 years in the 1990s when the sanctions were on. In fact, my counterpart, her husband was the orthopedic surgeon to Saddam. And I've got a lot of stories about that, but we don't have time for all of that. But it was quite fun. Anyway, we set up, when the sanctions got quite severe, he delegated power to the governorates. Of course, he had military leaders in the governorates, but there was a relaxation of central power. He still was quite strong. And then we decided, the ministry, when I was working with UNICEF, because UNICEF is a remarkable organization, because their program is the government's program. It's not their own program. They sit with the government and work with the government on their program. And it's primarily for kids. Now they're including mothers, thank goodness. So anyway, we set up these community childcare centers around the country, set up about 1,500 of them around the country, and we used to visit them. And they had the actual person who did the education was the local mullah. He was the person who weighed the child and gave it education to the woman, and it was done in a school. So the headmaster was there, also the chief, the most wealthy person in the village, and a political representative. That was very important, actually, because that added, and it went all the way down, education and health, to political rep and UNICEF and other supporting agencies, went all the way down. So they were combined together. And when I was there, I couldn't understand what they were saying, but the passion was so amazing. They were so excited to be doing stuff for themselves. And I think we need to do a lot more community action support. And I'll give you another example. When I went to a talk at the University of Melbourne on climate change, and they were talking about, this was a few months ago, about action, and saying the political action is still lacking. And someone got up and said, no, we need action from the communities. We need more. We need to empower communities to act, because they have the voting power as well. And they need the knowledge of action. And the action, I mean, there are other things I can talk about here, but the action is the positive effects of doing something about climate change, the economic benefits and the health benefits and all these other benefits that are being hidden from us because of the other industries that don't want to lose their cash. So, these are all sorts of things that I think are quite important. Let me talk a little bit about an ebook, if I can. Is there time? Yeah, okay. Is there any questions, by the way? Let me hesitate for a few minutes about questions.
Yeah.
What about the audience? Do we have questions from the audience?
Yes. Take a breath for a second. I'll just go through some of the comments here. Shell's saying that's awesome about something you said earlier. We've got Shannon's from West Ryde in Sydney. Shell's saying here, medication isn't there to fix us anymore. It's there as a business to make us sick. It's a money-making business. That's all it is, and we are the product to make money. That's why I heal myself. Now, that's a very strong opinion there by Shell. What do you think about that one as a doctor, as someone who's been a GP? What do you think about the money-making side of pharmaceuticals?
Well, by the way, I never became a real GP. I was too scared to be a GP. I went to my friends who was a GP, and I couldn't stand the pressure because I got so worried about my patients, particularly the kids. I couldn't sleep at night. So I said, let's go in populations, because in populations you can knock off a few people so long as you save 100. So that's how I got into population health. But still, no, it's very important. And I did a stint at Queensland helping people present their theses, actually, their master theses in tropical health. And they were in groups of 4. And one group went overseas to Philippines at the time of devolution, when there was more power given to the governorates. Unfortunately, they didn't get the funding. So the pharmacies that used to be in the hospitals were private pharmacies outside. And so they were doing a study on the effects of devolution on medical care. And just by accident, they met these drug reps in a pub and started chatting. And I'll tell you what, you can get more information in a social contact than a business contact. It's amazing how people relax over a beer or two. Anyway, that's by the by. And they were talking, and they had one child in hospital, and they wanted to give a few bob as well, and they were talking about the child. But then they started talking about what they did, these drug reps, and they said, I've got to sell X amount of drugs, otherwise I get the sack, and I'll do anything to sell these drugs. And that's why I push the doctors as hard as I can to buy the drugs and give them samples and all promises of this and that and so forth. So it happens, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not sure. It doesn't happen to every doctor. The problem is the doctors don't have enough time, to talk to the patients because of the pressure of work. And in the States, they've got nurses now who act as doctors and take histories and things, and they do that here a bit too. But the issue is in education. And the whole issue is not just in medical education, it's in schools. We need to get back into schools. And who's the name? A guy who's written about schools in terms of education. Education was previously to get people organized to fill jobs for the wealthy. Okay? That's what it was originally. It was organized for them to be able to talk and arithmetic and be that sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying it is now, but it really has to be radically changed. And my cousin who started science in schools, actually, when I went to recently, they've got hands-on education. In fact, in a room, they've got actually reptiles when they can study them in live.
Interesting object of studies.
Well, I'm not saying every room's that, but what they're doing is working problem solving. And I think problem solving is so important now in the future when people are getting jobs, because I think companies want problem solvers. They want people who can solve problems, fix up things, and connect. So,
yeah. I want to connect two keywords that I heard you talk about. Education, we've been hearing that a lot through this conversation so far. And then something like nutrition. And I want to connect that again to your topic of dementia. What can people do maybe even at a younger age to prevent? So maybe you say 1/3 of people get dementia, but 2/3 don't.
In the older ages.
Yeah, is there something people can do when they're younger in terms of nutrition, in terms of lifestyle? Is there something we can do in our own hands to maybe not get dementia? Or if we have viewers who have relatives?
I think, the dementia has multi-causes. Degenerative disease by toxins that we don't even know about because of the particularly plastic and all that other stuff that we don't know about. It's also by vascular disease and other factors, and Parkinson's can get dementia, and there's all sorts of different causes. Now, the question is, I'm not talking about preventing dementia. I think dementia is going to happen, and I think the playlist is important because it's useful in the treatment of dementia because it reinforces memory. And particularly, I've got grade 1 dementia because I forget things, but I've always forgotten things, so I don't worry too much. But I think the important thing is some of the precursors of dementia that affect people and make them sad are like loneliness, lack of connection, lack of care, lack of connection, and so forth. Now, an important point of mental illness is physical illness, because if people trip and they can't move around, then they get lost. And I'm going to organize some videos about people getting someone to take a video of them going down steps or running, and because when you cross the street, you have to keep your eyes open for traffic. But when you get to the other side, you have to look down for the step, because if you look ahead, you'll trip over the bloody step and break your hip or something. So there are all sorts of different things as well involved. I'm not an expert in that area, but I do know that singing Singing makes you happy. And when I'm opposite a park, and when I go in the park, there are a lot of young ladies with babies and dogs there, because it's a young community. It's in Brunswick, in Melbourne, and with permission, I sing. I ask permission. Can I talk with you? And they say yes. Okay, he's harmless. And then I say, can I ask your name? And they say yes. And what is your name? And then they give me a name, and I've got lists of songs about just about every name they are. Then I say, can I sing to you? So I start singing their name to them, and they start smiling. And I do that in checkouts, and I do that on street corners and everywhere with permission. That's the important thing. You have to give permission. So I enjoy doing that, and that's why I started Sing with Fred. And then by chance, I was going to the Australian Medical Association meeting, and by mistake, I went to the AMTA, which is the Australian Music Therapy Association meeting, by mistake. And that's what got me into the music therapists as well. And there are an amazing lot of people. In fact, I was a subject in a study on the effect of music on loneliness in elders, and I was part of that study. So it's very interesting to see what's going on. So I'd like to promote this. And frankly, it's a scale, because on one part, it's simply starting to sing a bit more to each other and having some fun. And that's all. Okay. But that's connecting to some extent. And I've got this theory that when you make a connection and you get someone to smile or laugh, that's a little bit of love. And you may not see that person again, but you've got that little bit of love. And that's important, because you've got lots of little bits of love that accumulates, and that makes you feel better. Okay. So I think that connection. So you can go from a scale, you can go from just singing a bit more to each other and getting more connection, to the full thing of getting your playlist and linking it and having so. So everyone has a choice. And because I don't need to finish anything, once it gets moving, once I've got my Zooms running, once I get to a webinar and get more people, and things start small and go up. So I have to start early because, Einstein used to say, the strongest thing in the earth is compound interest. And it's not just money, it's what you do. And if you start early, then you've got a better chance of getting something. If you start late, you just don't have enough time to go up, because you're flat in this. It's like Bitcoin in the beginning going up, or climate change, temperature going up, or population goes up like that. It's going up like mad. So this is something about ebooks. I tell every young person to start their ebook. And I went to a conference in San Diego, two of them. That's the best organized conference I've ever been to. About 5,000 people there at the center, at the Anaheim Center. I used to live in LA, close to there as well. And they have this big room with tables, and every table is marked with something that you can go to. Like they have a Facebook page, they have an Instagram page, they have a LinkedIn page, they have a marketing page. So you can just go there. You don't have to ask people about things. Anyway, there was two things that I remember very well. One was, it's not your followers, it's the dedicated followers that are important. That's the ones who are going to go the whole hog with you. And when I was at the meeting, there was this black guy with a yellow suit, a black tie, a yellow tie, a black shirt, a yellow hat, and yellow shoes. And I went up to him and I started singing Yellow Submarine to him. And he loved it. So it's the other part was about ebooks. And very quickly, a minute or two, I tell people to start on their ebook. And the message in that workshop that he did was, you take an empty exercise pad and you start on the first page and put the date there. And at the end of the day, you either write down the interesting things that happened to you that day or in the past, if you like, and just write for 5 minutes, 3 or 4 chapters. Okay. Or if you prefer, you could dictate into your phone. Okay, and you do that every night as a ritual, just before you go to bed or sometime late. And then after 2 months, you've got about 200 or 300 chapters. And each chapter has a topic. Again, back to epidemiology: person, time, place, emotion, a particular emotion you had that day, and so forth, that was important to you. And you organize it. So you do a sort of a mind map so everything to do with a particular person or a particular place, you put in a chapter. So you've got all the chapters around in your mind map, and then you can get an idea of what your book's going to be about. It could be about particular people, it could be about places. You could have more than one ebook. The important thing is you do not grammatically edit. You keep the original words, because the original words are the original truth. And if you get someone to change the words, they change the meaning. And so you don't edit, even if it doesn't sound right. What you do is just get someone to help you manage it and say, oh, this belongs here, that belongs there, and so forth. And if you want to, you can get someone to contribute to that particular sub-chapter. So what you've got the sub-chapters, chapters, and parts of the book, and then the whole book, just like a mind map. And that's what you do. And that's your first draft after a month or two. And then you can decide. The beauty about an ebook is, first of all, it doesn't cost you anything. Secondly, you don't have to finish it. Thirdly, you can get other people to join. Fourthly, you can put pictures, videos, and whatever you like into it. And fifthly, you can publish it yourself. And then if it turns all right, you can make a printed book out of it if you want to. So I tell that to everyone who's young, because I started late, and so I have to catch up. And my main purpose this year is to stay alive, because I've got so many things to do. I've got to stay alive, otherwise I won't be able to do them. So there we are.
You seem like you're going to be around for a long time to come. No worries here.
Well, I'm not a square. I've got to be around.
Yeah. Take us back to Sing with Fred. I really love what you started there, and let our viewers and listeners know, how can they participate? Is this something that you're offering online as well?
So they can leave they can go to my webpage and enter my request, and they're not going to have to pay, because this is a research time. Because the beauty about the Zoom is, unlike live, is that your people can communicate with each other in rooms and chat with each other and say things and chat. You can't do that in a live place, because you've got the person in one place and the rest in their seats. And that's the beauty, because teachers learn from their students. Okay, and when I help people in their presentation, their public health topic presentation in Queensland, I also did this in person, other places. I said to them, you're the teacher. You're not the student anymore. You are here to give them some useful information. So forget about being a student anymore. The people in front of you are your students, and you can talk to them as you like, because you know more. An expert is someone who knows more about something than someone else. That's what an expert is. So in that case, you're the expert. And then don't worry about, and the other thing is that I learned from Ben Harvey in Authentic Education, who's an amazing group. Then he says, when you look at the audience, see someone who looks a little bit upset or away. He doesn't look like he's there, he's busy or doing something like that. And look at him, and then realize that this is the person in the audience you have to wake up and direct to, and try and see everyone in the audience as you go across. So the eye contact, that's what the little bit of love is, the eye contact and the face and the smile and the reaction. That's where I get my oxytocin from. No? So there's a song about that from Wonderful Town. Yoo-hoo, I'm a little bit in love, never felt this way before. Yeah. So anyway, there it is. So we're almost done, are we? We've got 5 minutes. What about questions?
Well, we've actually got a whole lot of comments here. We've got Shell said, yes, frequency is a great healer, she said earlier. Absolutely amazing. Yes, very true. She's agreeing with some things you're saying there. She says you can listen to bees making their hive and your frequency in your body heals itself. You can listen to birds chirping because when birds are chirping, our natural instinct is that we're safe when the birds are chirping. That's really beautiful. I love that, Shell. And I must say I love listening to birds chirping, particularly around sunset. When I go to the gym at Southport Sharks, there's all these rainbow lorikeets that are chirping like crazy. It's the most beautiful sound.
Animal
really
sounds are absolutely amazing. And, baby sounds, the and the E, you can interpret that as well. There's a Dr. Duncan who was on the show interprets. No, animal sounds are amazing. When you hear birds sing, it's
it's
the
beautiful.
Bird whispered, haven't you heard? Spring is here, spring is here, spring is here. A merry crow sang a happy hello, my favorite time of the year. The bobolink looked at us with a wink. Add a boy, add a girl, nothing's wrong. When you're in love, you go singing along, singing the dicky bird song, etc., etc.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm just getting a download, Alfred. You should do like a daily newsletter, your daily dose of Alfred singing. I want that.
Anyway, look, I just started yesterday having singing lessons for the first time. So there we are. And they've asked me to start a choir in the apartments. So I'm not going to call it a choir. It sounds too formal. I'll call this a singing group. And the point about the choir is that the people in the choir choose the songs, not the choir leader. That's the important thing. So they get to sing their own songs of love and be joined by others. So that's what I'm working on. It's great being with you, my dears, and thank you for supporting me.
Pleasure. Well, it's not over yet, so we've still got 10 minutes or so to go. So we'll go through these final comments here and any questions from anyone watching live, please pop them in the chat or comments of what you've been getting so far. Shell says, bless him. Like you're in a fishbowl and everyone can see you. That's the way I look at myself. Interesting. That's Thank you, Shell. We've got Diggs on Twitch going, hey, what's up? What's up, man? What's up, Diggs? How you going there, Diggs? We've got Man Bojan going, big perspective. Big perspective. We've got on Instagram here, we've got a whole lot of comments here as well. We can see Raphael Port has joined from Orlando, Florida. Hello, Raphael. We've got Rob Zellich. It's a tough one to say. I think it's Zelzechik. Hello, Aldwyn. How are you? Long time no see. How are the rest of you? I'm from Toowoomba in Queensland. Hello, Rob. Helping people exercise, healthy living, forming friendships is all good for the mind, soul, and happiness, Rob says. Just do it. Okay, Three's joined us on Instagram. Rob says, helping people helps me mentally and makes me feel happy and good about myself. Absolutely. Helen Francis Officials joined us. Paul Costa Music's with us. Rob says, my mama has dementia. She's 84. It is a cruel illness. And my mum also has dementia. She is 80 and it is really challenging. Although I must say my mum is very happy in general, whereas some people get very cranky when they have dementia too. And I think it's very important to treat every conversation like it's the first conversation when you've got someone with dementia and just be, just really be with them. My mum is like a 3-year-old in some ways. She is so playful and wants to hug everyone and kiss everyone, and she's really, it's like she's sort of gone full circle and is like back in her youth again, although she does some things that can be very, very challenging, and I know it can be tough. So I think as much as possible, find the joy in those moments when you're with people with dementia. We've got the real Adrian Lawson's joined us. Suzanne Bowles, hello. Let's think about it. Is with us. Ambient Images, Wayne Lennon, and Robinson Homer Solutions, all on Instagram. Rob says, so true. Connecting with people gives happiness to all. I feel happy when I see people enjoying themselves. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. I love that. And I was looking at some ways. Don Tolman is a natural health food person who talks about ways that you can help degenerative brain diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia with whole foods. And he says some of his tips: eliminate aluminium exposure. He says eat blueberries, exercise daily, avoid plaque-forming foods, eat vitamin-rich foods. Some other ways: drink plenty of pure water every day, daily sunshine and walking, walking, eat omega-3 foods like walnuts. And if you think the walnut is like the brain, it's very good for the brain. Flax seeds, chia seeds, kidney beans and olive oil. Keep yourself engaged mentally in activities stimulating for your brain. Limit alcohol. Avoid refined sugar, refined carbohydrates. Use quality essential oils like frankincense and rosemary oil to help stimulate brain function. Avoid unnecessary medications and supplements that can be toxic for the body, and get plenty of sleep. These are all great ways and great things you can do to help the mind. So thank you so much to the Tolman family
Could
for
I
that.
just mention one thing? We have an
Sure.
epidemic of sleep deprivation globally in the West because they're
Yeah.
all on their phones at night. They're looking at these violent movies and about 1 to 2 hours sleep, getting 1 to 2 hours sleep. And sleep is the best form of meditation. And if you don't have time to repair your brain and your body, it's going to affect you. But I agree with all those things. When I'm talking about music, it's not going to be the be all and end all. There are lots of other things, and I thank you for adding that.
Yeah, wonderful, Fred. I love that. And I know we do need to wrap up shortly. So, Fred, is there, I know, we talked about some of your highlights of some of the things that you did in the past. Helping elders and respecting our elders, I think, is an art that is kind of seems to be a dying art, actually, is this respect for elders. I really love it when I do see younger people respecting elders, like making way for them, giving them their seat on a bus and things like that. All these little things. I think there is just so much wisdom in our elders, and it's something that we can all be mindful of to actually show some more respect for our elders, because
I think that should be encouraged, and I think that the media is very important in this regard. The prime education. And it's often the grandkids that get on better with their grandparents than the kids, because the kids are so busy trying to make money, and we have good connections with grandkids. But I think the issue is media and education and marketing. And unfortunately, we have to change that if we change our attitude. And the influence of community strength. And there has to be a lot more of it.
Absolutely. And Fred, now how do you want to be remembered when you do eventually pass, and we're all going to pass eventually? How do you want people to remember you?
The young oldie who loves to sing. How's that?
I love that. The young oldie loves, and you love to dance too, because I was in Melbourne with you a few days ago, and you were out there dancing at the.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's true. I tell you what. To make a fool of yourself is being human, and you shouldn't worry about making, so long as you don't want to expose or anything like that, but having fun. We look at the opposites all the time, and in fact, when you talk to the subconscious, there's a lady called Anna Berger I've been attending on connecting with your subconscious, and I'm starting to talk with my subconscious. And I'm telling my subconscious about changing behavior and what to do, because that's part of me anyway. And it's mainly the hindbrain anyway, which is stronger with the fear factor. I just, that's why I sing whenever I feel afraid, because I think the fear factor dominates a lot of the stuff we do. We're frightened to do this, that, and the other. And I think if we look at the fear factor and say, oh, well, why don't we try it and have a bit of fun instead, sort of thing. And a lot of the fear factor is our loneliness and lack of contact with others, because we feel isolated and we don't know where to go. And I think people prefer to be recognized, even if it's in a negative way, than not be recognized at all. And being a nobody. So anyway, that's a little bit of my philosophy, wherever it goes. Anyway, it's great being, and I thank you very much, Aldwyn and Carolyn. I have relatives who lived in Bad Homburg.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
Frankfurt,
I used to work in Bad Homburg for 2 years. Beautiful.
Oh really? Okay, near the forest. Yeah,
yes,
the Black Forest. Yeah. Anyway, nice meeting you. And
it was
thanks very
lovely
much.
having you.
And if anyone wants to put comments in, they could send it to my, how does it get to me, and I can respond.
Yeah, well, they can connect with you on your website. They can contact you through
on the website if they want to put a comment on that, or my LinkedIn. I think we've got LinkedIn there.
Yes, or LinkedIn, look up Alfred Zerfas, or you can go to singwithfred.com, SING with WITH Fred, FRED.com.
Well, I hope you got a few of the things. I don't expect you to swallow everything I've said, because that would give you indigestion. But if you take a few of the things, a few of the delicacies, and I hope that's useful to you. Good luck.
It's been amazing, Alfred, and we call you Fred affectionately, of course. Any other final tips on ways that you can live life fully and really make the most of life? So you've mentioned being busy, having fun, making a fool of yourself. These are some of the ways that you stay youthful. What are some other tips? Anything else to share there before we wrap up?
I think visualizing is very important. And there's a difference between saying something and speaking something that connects. And be more aware of the you than the me, and be empathetic to people. In fact, I think empathy is such an important human feeling. And when you're empathetic, you're almost within them, and they feel that you are connecting. And the minute others feel you're connecting, they can open up inside a little bit more, and cuddle and touching and using all the senses in a friendly way, I think, because we're not using ourselves as humans enough these days, unfortunately. We're a bit frozen, a bit robotic now, a bit AI and a bit technology and so forth, and bringing the art into everything, accepting the beauty of everything. I mean, every face is beautiful, really, because it has a characteristic of beauty. And beauty is as they say, in the eye of the beholder. If you can see the beauty and compliment people, why say nasty things about people when you can say nice things about people and they like it, you know? So these are all sorts of things. You can be a taker so long as that finishes up being given, because you can take and then give it away as well. So you can be a giver as well. And talking to males, have more feminine qualities. That's my message to males. Okay.
Thank you, Alfred.
In fact, my friend in UNICEF used to call me his right hemisphere.
I love it. And you're actually our first male guest that we've had on Media Mavens Show, episode 10.
Okay, right. Well, I hope you pick up. And if you want to make any comments or send a message to me, do so, and I'll reply.
Absolutely. Yes,
and join Sing with Fred if you like. You've got my web address if you want to join it. You can even join it even if you're not an elder. You can join it just to go through it, and you can connect with anyone else you like. And a lot of it's education to start off with, so you can work out how to do it. And if you go away from it and do nothing with me at all, and then pass it on to someone you love, that's fine with me. Okay, you do what you like.
Yes,
love it. I'm not there to make money. I'm there to spread the word, you know,
and spread the positive energy, no? Yeah, that's been beautiful. There's been so much wisdom on this show, Fred. Thank you so much. And Rob is actually summing it up perfectly. You are a wise man, Alfred.
Thank you.
This is something that I can absolutely, sign. He nailed it.
I'll tell you very quickly, my mother's second husband was called Wiseman, actually. The third husband. But the fourth husband, I'll tell you quickly, it was a guy who was the captain of the guards outside the hall in Vienna when they were playing the Strauss operettas. He was captain of the guards, and she was in society. She did all the costumes, and he fell in love with her, but he couldn't talk with her because of the difference. And they met in Warburton Sanatorium 50 years later, and they got married.
Oh,
wow! It's a beautiful story,
isn't it? So you never know how things turn out.
Yeah.
And serendipity is so important, because you have to act on serendipity, because serendipity has a purpose.
Absolutely.
And it's not just random. Something happens. If something
Yes.
happens at a point of time, it has a purpose, and you have to act on it. You should not ignore it. That's
100%. And that's why it's so important to not buy into the disconnection through media and cell
That's
phone,
right.
but to stay connected. And the more connected you are, the stronger you can listen to the serendipity.
Well, you have to love yourself before you love someone else.
Yes.
Well. That's very important, because 100%. You're still the most important person, but it's the you that connects with other people. And that's being human. And you've got to be human. You can't be perfect, and you make mistakes, and you rejoice in your mistakes because you learn from them. And that's how you get to success, by learning from your mistakes, because we all make mistakes. That's human.
Beautiful. Anyway, thank you so much.
Lovely seeing you. I hope it went all right. Yeah. Okay, my dears.
Thank you, Fred. It was wonderful. And any favorite quotes or motto you'd like to share with us before we wrap up, and then we'll share how we can connect with Kerstin and myself. Favorite quote or motto, Alfred, you'd like to share with us?
Well, I've got another one about dying. I'm going to die, not tomorrow. And the point is that death is a process. The dying is a process. And there's an amazing film that I knew the producer of, about this guy who was going to die. He was a dentist in the States. And he stayed in his home 2 days after he died, and he was all dressed up, and people had a chance to say goodbye in their own time, because the current status of dying, people are in a rush. They just go and walk past. They don't have time to get that sense of feeling. And this gave the sense of feeling, because they could stay with that person as long as they liked. And so that's why I say I'm going to die, because I can plan. I can plan for my dying. And that's why I want to get all these things done this year. Ha ha.
I'm convinced that in a year from now we're having another show with you.
We'll have another follow up and see what happened. Yeah, why not? Okay, yeah. Okay, lovely meeting you.
Beautiful.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Love that. And how can people connect with you, Kerstin?
Just go to my website, which is bebettercoaching.org. There's a /links. There's all the ways to connect. They can book a call if they're interested in learning more about, working on their mental, physical, emotional health. And that's actually something that I'm sharing with my clients. I love what Fred was saying about starting early, working on your mindset, on your physical, your mental health, the emotional connectedness. And the process that I'm taking my clients through is hopefully getting all of them into very beautiful, very awake, old people, because the tools that you learn when you're young, they last for a lifetime if they're transported well. So I'm super happy to put my little contribution to creating more beautiful old people like you, Fred.
All right, thank you.
I love that. And for those on the audio,
I love being with the beautiful young people as well. Younger people, not younger people. Yeah.
Yes.
For those tuning in on the audio,
age is a state of mind. It's not number of years.
Absolutely.
That's my quote. Yeah. Okay.
So true. So for those on the audio tuning in on Spotify, etc., bebettercoaching.org is BE, better, BETTER, coaching, COACHING.org/links. You can connect with Kerstin there. And for those who want to connect with me, just go to linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. I help you be seen, heard, and known amongst the masses through mass media exposure. So if you want to know more about that and how we can work together, then book a call with me. You'll find my link in my Linktree, or just send me a PM on Facebook or on any of my links there. Connect on LinkedIn. I've got the YouTube channel. We're now streaming to YouTube again, which is awesome. So you can check that out too, Aldwyn Alternate Media Queen TV. And every month we have the Global Good News Challenge, which is a great way that you can get into sharing gratitude and good news. So check out the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. You'll see all the details on that, absolutely free. And free marketing for you when you get into gratitude and share good news. And doesn't the world need more good news right now? Absolutely does. So check that out. Linktree, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. Hello to Kelly Calabrese, who's joined us as well. Thank you so much for those who've joined live or watching the replay. Please let us know in the comments, what did you get out of this show? If you've got any questions for any of us as well, pop those in there and just tag us and we can come back to your questions if you're watching the replay as well. Thank you so much, Fred, for joining us today. Sing with Fred. Check out Fred's amazing website, and he's only just beginning. Here. He keeps himself very active, and I'm constantly seeing him on Zoom events, etc. So signing out from.
Let's have a drink on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Drinks
and sings on LinkedIn.
yes, let's sing and drink on LinkedIn. Everything in moderation, of course. Signing out from Cebu in the Philippines. Any final words before we wrap up, Kerstin or Fred?
Well, I just want to finish with a quote as well that I looked up earlier. Respect your elders and learn from their past, and guide your young people because they are our future. And I think that sums up the whole show beautifully. Thanks again so much, Fred, for having been our guest. And thanks for all the viewers from all over the world listening and watching and tuning and sharing, spreading the love. And see you again on the next show.
Absolutely. And I'll share one final quote as well. It's not the number of breaths you take, it's the moments that take your breath away. That one just came to mind. So here's to making the most of every breath. Every breath is a blessing and every day is a blessing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kerstin. Thank you, Fred. We'll see you again next time on Media Mavens Show.